Arcade Perfect, my Arse.
Okay guys, welcome to another Arcade Perfect My Arse. It's been a wee while since I've done one of these ones. Excuse me. Right, this week I'm going to be taking a look at one of my favourite games of all time. It's Berzerk. Now I say it's one of my favourite games of all time. That's probably not entirely true because I didn't even like the game up until probably a couple of years ago. It was one of these games I always thought looked rubbish. It looked far too simplistic. And then it was one day I was just going through MAME on my arcade or my MAME card, and I decided to play it. And I thought to myself, why don't I actually see if I can get quite good at it? And it's a game that I now play quite a lot, and I just love the whole simplicity. It's such a pure game, you know, it's just you against the machine. So this is the arcade version, which you can see I'm playing at the moment. Now on MAME there are two different versions. You get set 1 and set 2. Now set 1 has got fast bullets. Set 1's got fast bullets. Set 2 has got slower bullets, but I think the baddies move a wee bit quicker. Set 1's obviously the slightly more difficult one. Now I think this is set 1 I'm using. And depending on the colour of the robots, that dictates, you know, how difficult they are. I think the blue ones fire faster, and the red ones walk quicker. I can't remember exactly. You know what, I'd be absolutely lying if I told you what each one meant. But it's one of these games. It looks simple. Well, it's a simple game to play, and it looks easy, and it's anything but. I mean, they reckon if you can get, 10,000 is a pretty good score at this game. And my best is, I think I've just got over 20,000, which is far from, I think it's 350,000 is the world record. But if you've never played it before, go and have a shot and I'll guarantee you won't last very long. It's such a difficult game. But it was released, I think, by Stern in 1982, I think it was. So it kind of came out just as the computer industry was taking off. You know, people weren't really wanting to play games like this. They wanted to play more cutting edge games. So this particular game wasn't released. I mean, it was never commercially released for a lot of like the home systems. This one here is Atari 800, which it was released by. You can see it was licensed by Stern. Now I've got to say this particular version is actually really good. It's very faithful. I mean, it's got the proper maze layout, and it's even got some nice speech as well. Well, there's Evil Otto coming. It's even got the same scrolling as it moves, as the screen kind of shuffles you off to the side. I would say this version's probably, your man actually moves maybe slightly slower than he should in the arcade. But this is a very authentic version. I would be delighted to get this for my Christmas.
The humanoid must not escape.
I mean, the movement and even the sort of the actual overall look of it, even the score looks pretty authentic.
Intruder alert, intruder alert.
Quite impressed with the speech though. That's nice. You know, you need to remember when this game came out. It's also got Evil Otto killing the baddies, which is good.
The humanoid must not escape.
This is rather nice though. Quite impressed with this one.
Stop the humanoid, stop the intruder.
Now, I think the maze in Berzerk is randomly generated. You know, in the arcade one, you'll always get an exit. You know what? I know I was going to say there what's interesting, it's just because I've died. Yeah, you'll always get an exit up, down, left and right. I've noticed all the exits are open in this one, but I think when you go through an entrance, when you go out and exit, you'll find that one's automatically blocked. So that was the official Atari 800 one. That was really nice. Now this one, this is most definitely not an official one. Now believe it or not, this game came out in the sort of early 90s. Now right away I recognise the tune. That sound effect, that is taken directly from Fort Apocalypse, which is an Atari 800 game. You'll notice with this one, it doesn't move pixel scrolling, it moves in character base. And also it's impossible to actually stand still and shoot. So if you're standing right beside a baddie, you cannot avoid running into him when you actually try and shoot him. Yep, I think that sound effect would give you, that would certainly induce a headache. Bloody hell. One thing they have got absolutely off the tee, apart from the colour, is the baddies. They look very, very Berserk-like. Your character looks a bit of a mess. I mean, especially when he's standing still, it doesn't look anything like an actual running man. But this was a sort of a, it was a homebrew. I don't know why they attempted to make this, because the original is a lot better. Yeah, that's interesting. Right, moving on. This is Berzerk, and this is on Atari ST. This was released, does it say? Doesn't actually tell you when it was released. It was a homebrew one. Because, when the 16-bit computers came out, people weren't wanting to play an arcade game from 1982. They weren't wanting to play Space Invaders or Berzerk. They were wanting to play stuff like, I don't know, Golden Axe, Final Fight. They were wanting to play cutting edge games, not stuff like this. But it's great that there's people who were going to write games like this, just as a hobby. And this is actually pretty good. Complete with speech as well, and again this one's got all the exits. I noticed some of the earlier ones that was playing before I started recording this, they don't have all the exits, just because of the sort of, I don't know, the screen resolution, whatever. Now the wee baddies, these have got slightly broader shoulders, I think, in the arcade. Alright, you'll notice the screen freezes when there's any speech.
The humanoid must not escape.
All in all, this isn't a bad game actually, it's quite nice.
Intruder alert. The humanoid must not escape.
Now, I should warn you before you attempt to play this game. This game is rather infamously linked to a curse, i.e. people dying. There's a story of two guys. Both guys have played the game and died shortly after playing it. Now, I think it's got absolutely nothing to do with the game, but apparently they both just finished playing the game and they died of heart attacks shortly after it. So if you just Google it, it's called The Curse of Berzerk. Yeah, that's good. That was Atari ST. Now this one is Atari 2600. Now I've got to say, this looks pretty good. Now this is the point I was making earlier on. You'll notice in this version there's only two entrances, up and down, and then in this, well, you've got them left and right. Don't know why. No, I'm talking absolute nonsense. This one's got three here. So yeah, I'll take back what I said there. Yeah, I mean this particular maze has only got the 2 up and down. Don't know why they chose to only put sort of 2 doors in some of the mazes. I don't know whether it was, you know, random generated again. But this is pretty good. It's kind of got the movement and the robots right as well. Some of the versions you see, which we'll see later on, they've not really, although it may look like the arcade game, the actual animation, I'm sure I've seen that screen before with big H. Possibly may only have a couple of screens, I'm not sure. But I've got to say, this actually feels like the arcade. And it's even got the wee running guy here. I think this one may only have a couple of screens, maybe 2-3 screens. Which is a shame, you know, but it's still quite an achievement. I was going to say it's an achievement getting this game running on Atari 2600. I've seen some games that they're running it, you know, and this is quite a simple game, but all in all, this isn't bad. Oh, a bit unfair that. There is a big, huge chunk of luck involved with Berzerk, i.e. where you actually start. When you go through a door, you just don't know where you're going to appear. Sometimes it's almost impossible to avoid death. And the bullets in this version are pretty quick, like that. That is really, really good. Right, this one, what one is this? Let me see. This is actually on the Game Boy Advance, believe it or not. It's a bootleg, not a bootleg, it's a homebrew version. Now, sadly, there doesn't appear to be any sound. And the maze in this isn't that accurate. It seems to be, I mean, it looks to me like it's only kind of half done. I like the way the kind of baddies dissolve when you hit them. Couldn't get any sound. Yeah, the actual maze is quite simplistic. It does look kind of like a sort of work in progress. I don't know if this game was ever finished. Yeah, the sort of placement of the robots isn't quite right. A lot of them seem to be standing. Whoa, where did he come from? Aye, interesting. That's on the Game Boy Advance again. That was a sort of a homebrew type. Right, this is called Berzerk MMX. Now, I couldn't find the ROM for this, so I've actually using somebody else's video, but I will put a link to this video below. This is actually a homebrew version released on the VIC-20, and the guy that put this video up's actually got it's actually got speech built into it, as you can tell. It is super impressive. Yeah, that is awesome. Absolutely awesome. I don't know whether that speech is through some sort of hardware or is it just through the VIC-20 itself. I'm not too sure. But, you know, it just shows you don't need a powerful computer or system to actually get a decent version of Berzerk. That is really, really impressive. I like that one a lot. Now this one, again, this is a homebrew, and once again I'm actually borrowing the video from somebody else. In fact, this is actually from the developer. This is on the NES. It's interesting to see people taking old games and getting them to run on sort of more up to date. I'm saying more up to date, the NES is probably 30 years old, but you know what I mean. You know, a game like Berzerk was never released for the NES, but you know, it's pretty cool seeing people converting this game to run. Again, I think this is just a kind of demo. I don't think there's that many levels in it, but for what I can see, it looks to play pretty spot on. It actually looks quite like the arcade one. Scrolling's slightly different. In the arcade one, when you scroll, you get the walls scrolling, but in this one you seem to get the wee kind of baddies moving at the same time. It'd be interesting to see this game when it's fully finished. I don't know whether the guy's still working on it or not. I'm guessing interest for a game like this is probably quite small, you know, so. And you can't shoot him again. But yeah, super impressed with that one. That is on the NES. Right, this is the closest I could find for the BBC. This is Cybertron, it's called. It's not really Berserk, but it's about the closest you're going to get. You're in a kind of maze and you're going to shoot wee baddies. It actually looks very, very similar to the game that's going to come up in a second called Sheamus on the C64. So yeah, it's not technically Berserk, but I said it's the closest I could actually find. There certainly doesn't appear to be any official version. There wasn't even any version that was just called Berzerk. This looks to be about the closest to Berserk you're going to get in the BBC. I just wanted to feature it just to let you see it, but you know, it's not Berserk, let's not kid ourselves. Was that some kind of special potion or something? Ah, that's an extra life actually. Actually not a bad wee game this. Now hopefully, oh, you've even got an evil auto as well. A kind of ghosty thing. I hope you like the sound quality. I got a, what do you call it? It's called a Yak, Blue Yak. It's on a Blue Yeti. I'm getting my winter animals muddled up. A Blue Yeti microphone. I got that from my wife for my Christmas oblique birthday. So hopefully the quality is not too bad. There's a lot of settings on it. You can tweak the sort of, you know, how accurate it picks up things, the sensitivity. So I'll need to kind of play about with it. But anyway, that is Cybertron, and that is on the BBC. Now this was the game I mentioned. This is Sheamus. This was one of the first games I ever actually played on the Commodore 64. Again, it's not technically Berserk, but rather oddly, there doesn't appear to be an official version of Berserk released. I mean, Atari did port it out to the, I think it was on the 5200, is it? I think there's a version, but I think the 5200 is essentially an Atari 800, but it's a sort of console version, but I think it's the same operating system, it's exactly the same hardware inside, so I didn't bother featuring that because I've already done the Atari one. What was I saying? Yeah, so interestingly, Atari did port this to the Atari, but they didn't do a Commodore 64 one, and yet Atari ported a lot of other games to the C64, so there may have been some kind of licensing issue with it, don't quite know. This is a great game actually. It says it's kind of similar to Berzerk, slightly more kind of RPG sort of theme to it. You can pick up sort of like potions and that kind of stuff. I don't think you can upgrade your weapons or anything. You've got to pick up keys and that kind of stuff, but really nice game. So this was kind of the closest you'd get to Berzerk on the C64. Until some clever guys decided they were going to release a proper version of Berzerk, which we shall look at in a few seconds time. Now that little green guy is kind of similar to Evil Otto. It kind of homes in and you think you can shoot him. But yeah, that's excellent. That is Sheamus. Right, this is Berzerk, and this came out in 2009, I think it was. This was released on cartridge. Again, it's a homebrew, and it's a pretty good version. The speech is just incredible. You know, the speech I would say is arcade perfect, which is no mean feat on a Commodore 64. Now, when I first played this, I was absolutely blown away with just how good it is. However, playing it further, it's not quite as good as, you know, it's not quite as good as I first thought it was, for a couple of reasons. One of them, the maze isn't really, the mazes that it generates aren't really authentic looking. You know, it's just like lines dotted about the place, whereas Berzerk was more about walls and actual maze. That one there that you've seen, it must be random, but that one's not too bad. The movement of the baddies isn't authentic to the arcade. It just, I don't know how they've programmed it but it just doesn't really feel the same. It looks quite similar, but it doesn't really play as accurate. Yeah, I don't know, the baddies seem to move an awful lot quicker, and they don't seem to move in the same way as the arcade. It's quite hard to actually describe just what's not quite right with this version. It looks really nice, it sounds amazing. I don't know, I think the robots just seem to move that bit too quick. Yeah, some of the mazes are just a bit rubbish. I mean, that wee bit in the centre, it just reeks of like randomly generated mazes. Yeah, if you notice, the robots all move way too fast. The arcade game doesn't look like that. Possibly in sort of later levels it gets that quick. So this version could have been the definitive one, I think, but to me it's just a good game the way it is. Now this is on the Vectrex. Now I'm using a Vectrex emulator. I mean, I do have this game upstairs, but I thought for the simplicity, I'll just play it in an emulator. This is actually a really, really good version of Berzerk. It's got the maze right, excuse me. It's got the animation right. Yeah, the robots look kind of like Metal Mickey. If you don't know who Metal Mickey was, you're obviously not old enough, so go and Google it. But this is I've got to see it here and now, this is one of the best versions of Berzerk you'll actually play. If you don't have a Vectrex, go and get one. Vectrex is awesome. It's quite ironic that one of the best versions of a game like this you'll get is on probably the oldest bit of hardware. You know, and it's quite incredible when you think this is a vector-based game, and it's basically playing a sprite-based game, you know, which is just really, really clever. If you've got a PC and you don't have a Vectrex and you want to play Vectrex games, you could do far worse than going to Steam and download, is it Vectrex Generation or something it's called? It's basically a compilation of all the Vectrex games for the PC. You can also get it for the iPad as well. It's fantastic. I mean, I've got it on my iPad Pro, so it's virtually like having an actual, you know, proper Vectrex. But right, this abomination, this is this is ZX Berzerk, it's called. Now, I'm guessing it's written in BASIC. I did do a Google and I couldn't find anything that was remotely like Berzerk. This was the closest I could find. Now, this game is atrocious in quite a few ways. When the baddies fire, which you'll see shortly, when the baddies fire, it's game over already. When the baddies shoot, you can't actually move. You've actually got to wait for the bullets to traverse the screen before you actually try and move. The whole game freezes. When you shoot, the whole game stops. You'll see there it's more like a defender shooting mechanism. It's not one bullet. Boom. And the whole game freezes while it kind of displays the wee kind of death sequence. The mazes are completely nothing like the arcade. The one part that is quite arcade authentic is the actual sprites look not too bad. And you'll see there, it doesn't, your baddies, or not the baddies, the sprites don't move, you know, pixel per pixel, they all move in. Now, one thing about this game, yeah, they all move in character blocks. You'll see there the robots jump for joy and wave their arms about when they kill you. which is a new feature. I've never seen that before. The one thing you may notice, when a baddie is right on you, you can't, oh, he was actually in the wall. You can't physically, you've got to be moving to shoot. So when a baddie is right beside you, it's physically impossible to outrun him, which you saw there, but let's see if it will show you again. When a baddie's too close to you, it's impossible. Oh, he just walked into the wall. I was actually sure there was other versions of this game. I'm sure Paul Jenkinson, who's got a rather excellent The Spectrum Show YouTube channel, I'm sure he featured different versions of Berzerk. I might be getting muddled up because I'm sure one of his friends is actually in the process of writing a good Berzerk. But yeah, it's pretty much Berzerk in name terms only. I mean, I don't know why they chose to put this big laser kind of thing in. It's got to be in basic. It absolutely has to be. Yeah, anyway, on that bombshell, that is ZX Berzerk. Right, this last one is called Cybertron, and this is on the Commodore Amiga. Again, there seems to be different Centurions, Electrons. There doesn't appear to be an official version of this release because, again, the Amiga came out in 1987. You wouldn't want to play an old game like Berzerk. So this is kind of homebrew version. It's like a take on Berzerk. It actually, I've got to say, it actually plays really, really nicely. It looks to me like they've taken the sprite from Roadrunner on the C64. It looks exactly like it. It's probably slightly easier, I would say, one of the easiest versions because the graphics are so wee. Oh, there's Evil Otto. Because the graphics are so wee, there's actually a lot of space to run about. You don't get the same sort of claustrophobia you get in some of the versions. But yeah, this is actually really, really nice. I'm not quite sure when it was released, but it's definitely worth checking out if you want to play a sort of a Berzerk clone on the Amiga. So that is it, guys. That is the last version. There's been a few absolutely horrendous ones. The Spectrum one is god awful. Good versions. The C64 one, the new one, isn't bad, but the movement just isn't quite right. The robots move a bit too thingy. There's some. The NES one's nice. The VIC-20 one is bloody impressive. I really like that one. I would probably say my favourite version, Vectrex one, is up there. That is an excellent version. I would probably have to say that the most authentic one, you know, to the arcade would have to be the original Atari 800 version. It looks most like the original, and it certainly plays most like it. So that's the one I'm going to go for as the best version. But as usual, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching it, and thank you for watching.